Independent eyewear, really unique, different, but difficult to develop and to spread the word. Being an entrepreneur that deals with independent eyewear takes it to the next level. Guess what, friends and family? On today's podcast, we're going to talk to an entrepreneur that took one frame and built it into an incredible brand that has an amazing story. Friends and family, it's all about Penny Rose today. Let's go. Let's go. Let's make it happen, baby. This is a Defocus Media production.
Audio Jungle.
What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover.
And I'm Dr. Jennifer Lyerly, resident optometry nerd.
And welcome to Defocus Media, optometry's #1 podcast, where we discuss the hottest topics, latest technology, eyewear, practice management, and more. So sit back, relax, and defocus. What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Glover. I'm super excited today because we are going to talk to a young man that is going to talk us or walk us through his entire entrepreneur journey. You know, a lot of folks are nervous about talking about what's great, what's not so great, and they never want to share, you know, the ups and the downs when it comes to being an entrepreneur. Friends and family, I'm super excited to have my guy, Orlando Fernandez, founder and creative director for the one and only Penny Rose. How you doing today, my friend?
Dr. Glover, thank you. It's an honor to be on the show today. I'm super excited to get into it and share the story with the world.
Hey, man, I'm super excited to have you on the show. And I just want to let everyone know that, you know, it's very important to have conversations, to build relationships, to just put yourself out there. I had the opportunity to meet Orlando at Vision Expo East. And I was leaving the convention center, and this young man just came up to me. He had that swag. He had some fly eyewear on, and we just started a conversation. And little do you know, this conversation turned into a podcast, and I'm super excited to learn more about your story. But again, just to share it with everyone out there, because I always like to say there's someone out there that's from Miami, that's Hispanic, that is looking to start an eyewear line, and they don't know where to start. Well, guess what, guys? On today's podcast, you're going to learn all about that, and this might be your motivation and inspiration. But Orlando, before we get too far and start talking about your story, my friend, we got to talk a little bit about you. You got to tell me a little bit about your background and how did you get into independent eyewear, my friend?
With pleasure, with pleasure. Well, one thing for sure, I want to address the elephant in the room. We both have the best beards in the game of optical and optometry. So as long as we address that first, let everyone know we got the best beards. But beyond that, you know, independent eyewear company, you know, Penny Rose. My name is Orlando Fernandez. I'm born and raised in Miami, never left. If I ever did, was for work, and I always came back. And, you know, being from Little Havana, you know, I felt like Penny Rose was just a dream for a very long while. And to put the legwork and behind it to make it happen, it's just a dream that became a reality. And I want to make sure that we address that as well, because it definitely took a lot of hard work and a lot of grit. But yeah, man, I started eyewear, I want to say about 15 years ago, man. And wow. It's been a crazy roller coaster ride. And I can't wait to dive into it.
Awesome, man. Well, we also like to get a fun fact, right? And you can't use that you're from Miami and you'll never go anywhere else outside of Miami. So I need a fun fact, man. We got to get a little more intimate. We got to know you more. So feel free to share, my friend.
For sure. Let me see. Something intimate. Well, going back beyond the 15 years I've been in the industry, one thing for sure that's helped me and shape my mental state to do what I do now has been sports. I've always been very involved in football, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and I feel with all that experience in my past has helped me to give me the mental edge that I need to succeed in the eyewear business.
I love it, man. And that's probably going to be the theme for the conversation today. I can already feel it. Sometimes you can just feel that energy and you know where the conversation is going to go.
For sure.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into it, man. I think before we start talking about your brand, I think we really have to talk about the current state of independent eyewear, because I feel like since I've become an optometrist, it's changed. I graduated from optometry school back in 2011. I've seen a lot of designers come in. I've seen a lot of designers go. I've seen a lot of big box companies actually make some pretty unique and fabulous eyewear, right? So I think the game and the playing field has changed. So I would love to get your perspective on what is the current landscape of independent eyewear?
For sure, definitely. I feel like the independent eyewear game, especially in the USA, has really really changed a lot. And unfortunately, there was a while way before our time that everything that was manufactured here in the USA was shipped out internationally to different countries and different parts of around the world. So to be an independent eyewear in this type of economy that we have right now, it's very tough because there's not too many factories right now that are actually manufacturing here in the USA. So even
Gotcha.
to begin that journey or to even start, where to start? There's not many places to start. Because even when I started my journey about 6, 7 years ago to build my company, the first thing I did was let me see who manufactures eyewear in the United States, and I typed it in. One of these late nights, crazy deep rabbit hole that I went into just to try to figure out who manufactures eyewear in the USA. And the crazy thing is that this happened probably about 12 years ago, and at the time there was only a handful of manufacturers that manufacture here in the USA. So now, fast forward to present day, there are super courageous individuals now that are opening their own brands in the United States. There's a lot of independent eyewear coming up, and there's actual a few, let's say two handfuls that actually produce the eyewear here in the USA, which is a really big deal. So we've come a long way from shipping everything out all over the world to bringing it back to the States. So I feel now, if there's an opportunity to get into eyewear, the time is now. And there's only so much room and opportunity for growth right now in this industry that it's something very interesting to look at right now for a lot of, young opticians, young optometrists that want to get into, manufacturing and maybe designing their own eyewear. Now's the time.
I love it, man, and I would love to dive a little deeper into this being the time. I want to talk about this entrepreneurial journey, right? Because you mentioned it's been tough, it's been ups, it's been downs. So I'd really love to jump into that, and let's just kind of take it from the beginning. Where does the name come from, right? And kind of walk me through what the journey looks like for Penny Rose, if you don't mind, my friend.
For sure, for sure. Penny Rose overall was a crazy dream. You could almost say nightmare because it would keep me up at night.
Oh
So
wow.
it would not let me sleep. And I just feel like that was just my mind trying to wake myself up to make it a reality, So little by little, I have to put in the work. Obviously, a lot of people dream big, and I want to encourage others to dream big as well. But you have to put the right actions in the path to make things happen. So there was a lot of hard work in the background to make it happen. Because when I told you, as I said, I've been in the eyewear industry for 15 years. So when I started a long time ago, a lot of eyewear companies were popping up, independent ones like the ones that we mentioned from before. And I almost felt like I was behind and I was late and I was super late for the party and I couldn't get in. And little did I know that that was not even the fact. Everyone has a different timeline. And my timeline was up and down like a roller coaster until one day I said, you know what? Penny Rose keeps me up at night. I'm gonna make it a dream, make it a dream, and make it a reality. And I put in the work to make it happen. But more importantly, the name of Penny Rose itself was, I think, the first building block for the company itself. And I want to say about 7 years ago, I was blessed with a beautiful daughter, and in Hispanic fashion, I named my first business after my daughter. So
Oh, nice.
Her name is Penelope Rose. I kind of cut it up, chopped it up a little bit, and I called it
Yeah.
Penny Rose. So I have a real baby in real life, and then my eyewear company is my second baby, and I'm here, rocking both of my babies.
So tell me, do they get jealous of each other at times as well?
Maybe a little bit because she does see me working a lot more, hustling, but I always make sure to make time for my little one. Even though she's not a baby no more, she's 7, she's growing up. I can't pick her up, and it's much easier to pick up my eyewear compared to her. But at the end of the day, she's always my little baby, no matter what.
I love that, man. It's just that inspiration, and it's like every time you look at that artwork that you create, you think about your baby. I have in my office whenever I see patients pictures of my family. So I have pictures of my daughter, my son, and it's on a digital frame holder.
I see those,
And
yes.
it yeah, those are nice, man. If you don't
They
have
really
one, you
are.
need to get one. But I love to have that in the office because if it's a tough day or if a patient is a challenge, I see their face, I see their smile, and it just makes me remember why I'm doing things. And it just makes the day go by so smoothly, man. So I love that you named the company after your daughter, and that's legacy, right? You're creating
Yes,
something that
sir.
she's going to be able to have for the rest of her life. To be able to say that you're wearing a frame where the company was based off of me, my name. That's a game changer, man. So I love that.
Honestly, Doc, I have to tell you, every day I have to pinch myself, and it's crazy the way it started. Like, you just have to have the courage, and you kind of have to just kind of shut down the fear and push it down to the basement. Because for any entrepreneur, especially when you're starting out, I don't want to sugarcoat it or beat around the bush. It is hard.
Right.
Every day, I just have to find the energy to get off the bed and get it done, and I'm blessed to have my daughter as my main principal fire in my basement to keep it going, because I know it's her name, and at the end of the day, it's legacy. And that's one thing I'm working on right now, building here in Miami as the first true independent eyewear that's repping our city.
Nice. Well, I know the folks from Miami, y'all rep heavily, man. I mean, we can take it back to Uncle Luke, to Rick
Yeah.
Ross, and everybody
You know
else
what's
that's
up, man.
out there, man.
Yeah.
Y'all do not play around out there, that's for sure, man. Well, let's jump a little bit more back into this roller coaster, right? I mean, we have the name, we have the foundation. Once we got that all established, what was the next step in this roller coaster journey that you've experienced?
For me, after having the dream, after getting the name, I think it was manifestation and visualization, kind of
Mm,
seeing myself designing my first eyewear, me figuring out the problems of how I was going to have my first store, overhead, money, funding. These are all issues that are going to happen, especially when you open a business. So I just had to make sure to keep myself focused and visualize on what the goal was. So I always made a big goal, but I break down big goals into 5 sections, for example.
okay.
And I just visualized myself designing my first eyewear, building my first tiny house. I visualized myself making my first account sale. I even visualized myself getting my first no. And I do all these things in my mind just to kind of get me prepped and ready for when I go out into the real world. So talking about my background as an athlete back in the day, when you win and you lose, or before you go into a match or a game, you have these butterflies in your stomach, and you kind of have to kind of suppress them so they don't make you freak out. Same thing goes for when you're an entrepreneur in the real world trying to sell your eyewear. So for these moments that I visualize in my mind of me having my first sale, or me getting my first no, or maybe even getting my first door shut in my face, right?
Yeah.
This visualization helped me. So when these moments happened, I kind of knew how to act. And those moments helped me to not take things personal.
Yeah.
As a designer, as an entrepreneur, and as a founder of my own eyewear company, and building this Penny Rose as my legacy, at the end of the day, I keep creating stuff, I keep designing stuff, and I like it. And I think the most important part as a creative and as you're starting out, as long as you like it, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Obviously you can add details, you can fix this here and that, but the whole point is to just start and get it going. Don't be afraid of what you don't have. You have all the tools you need available to be a success and to open your business. And for me, the mental game was the most important thing, because without that, I don't think I was going to be ready to get my first no, make my first sale, or even make my first design. So it was a long road, but the roller coaster, I never got off it because I felt like it was worth it at the end.
Yeah, I love that. And when I hear that, I'm thinking as an optometrist, I'm thinking as an optician, I'm thinking as, anyone that's out there that's looking to do something. You're essentially role playing with yourself in your head,
Yes.
right? You're having those conversations and you're anticipating whatever that person in front of you, that patient, that client may say. And I think that's huge. And I think that's something us as eye care professionals should do a little bit more, because we do want to be ready for any kind of answer that may come in front of us. And I think if we could do more of that, we would be more impactful and more effective in that exam lane, but also when it comes to selling eyewear as well. So that's some game right there, man. I appreciate that. And I can
That's for
see
the
that.
free. That's for the free 99 from Miami. For the
Hey, man, I'll
viewers,
take
all
it any
free,
day,
baby.
man. I love it. I love it. So I see you got a strong mindset. You like to visualize things. Let's talk about creation, because you're a creator. When it comes to visualizing designs, kind of walk me through what that looked like as a new designer, new business owner, because to your point earlier, you just got to get out there and do it. But I know some of us, my wife included, likes to make things perfect. And, how do you get out of that mindset to not make it perfect? I know you said you just got to get out there and do it, but that's a mindset thing, especially for creators, man.
So I would say one thing for sure as a creator, it almost feels like it's never finished, right? So even every eyewear I started, even the eyewears that I have in rotation in my brand right now, I feel like they're unfinished product or unfinished art pieces, right? So
Yeah.
out of that creator mind, you kind of have to remove yourself from that, right? Make it, design it, and then later down the road, if you really want to improve on it or add more details to it, you can still make it happen, right?
Yeah.
So you're not dead set to that one design, to that one detail. And I myself, I've caught myself doing that all the time. Even now with the collection I have, I look at it every day. I've been looking at this collection now for 3 years. It took me a long time to plan these designs, these collections, but you just have to get out of that headspace. It's okay. It might not be perfect. It
Right.
might not be the way you want it to look, but you still have a finished product, and I think that's the end game for a lot of people. It's just to kind of push that fear down, push that product out. It's not going to be perfect or ideal, and that's the way I see it now too. Because even with all my designs, I know I can add improvements, add a better acetate, change a different hinge, add a different core wire design. But as I move and as I grow as a designer and as a creative, it's okay. It's okay to let your baby be born as is, and then follow back and maybe eventually bring out like a part two or a version of it later on. So I think that's the hardest part for me personally, has been that, like, I feel like things are always undone, and that's
Yeah.
just me being honest with everybody. That's just the truth,
Yeah.
but you kind of just have to get over that fact. You just got to just push it out, man.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's great advice. And for all my entrepreneurs out there that's trying to make that jump, just put it out there, right? You'll get feedback. You'll know where you need to make the changes, the adjustments, and all that jazz, right? But, as an entrepreneur, and just throwing something out or putting something out, even though it's thought about or thought well out, I'm curious to know, how do you know when you have that unique piece that truly represents your brand, right? Because
Yeah.
you gotta know if there's an actual demographic out there for your product or your service that you have, right? So how did you know that there is a demographic for the designs that you create, and how did you come up with a unique design that you feel is going to represent your brand? So when I see one of these celebrities in Miami, Rick Ross, Uncle Luke, D Wade, whoever it may be, wearing a frame, I'm like, that's Penny Rose Optical right there. I know
For
that look.
sure. Yeah, from your lips to God's ears. Let's hope for that one of these days. But one thing's for sure, man, like, as I started it, like, designing and all this stuff, like, I never knew who was gonna wear, who my demographic was gonna be. To be honest with you, when I made these styles, and even to come think of it, like, from the beginning, like, as I started as a creator, even though I've been in the eyewear business for so long and I work for so many different eyewear companies, I never knew what style was gonna hit. It was
Mm,
almost like a gamble, even with the designs that I made, and knowing with the optical background I have of what styles are popular, or what colors are popular, what materials are popular. We all know that all the shapes have been created, all the colors have been created. But the thing is that you just have to kind of you have to have conviction and a firm belief in your brand, and that's one thing I had since the beginning. So one thing I helped for myself as a designer and as a creative was to add details to my frame that made it Miami. So even with the first frame that I'm wearing, I named it after Flagler, which Flagler in Miami is a very, very well-known street. It's actually the first avenue of Miami, the first street that we have, and this was my first design. So that little detail right there kind of made it Penny Rose, a company independent in Miami, right? But
yeah,
more importantly, the details that I added to the core wire and the hinges and the thickness of the frame. So our frames are not subtle; they're very bold. And for me, from the beginning, when I was creating, what helped me was that when I had all these prototypes, right, from the beginning, which is about to be over a year now, I just took it to the streets. And from the streets, from the stores, from the back of my trunk, from anywhere I can stand where I wouldn't get kicked out, I would
yeah,
just show my frames to the people. And I'd be like, hey, what's your feedback on this frame? And if you would change it, what would you do? And any feedback I would get, I would write it down. And
yeah,
once I was finished with that person, I'll go to the second person. And I'm like, hey, what do you like in this frame? What don't you like? And from there, so on and so forth, as I kept going through people, I literally got real feedback from people that would buy my eyewear. So as long as you built the value of your product up here, I
yeah,
think the selling part is very easy, but you have to keep it true to your brand and your identity. But more importantly, you have to kind of relate it to the people around your community. And that's one thing I did as starting here in Miami as a small independent optical has been very helpful for me to be successful around my local stores, because they were the ones that kind of carried my brand for me at the beginning and actually moved my pairs. And at the end of the day, it took a village. It takes a village. I want to say, yeah, it's all me. I did penny rolls up on myself. No, it wasn't. It had a lot of feedback, a lot of support from the community, and that was for me the first way of knowing if I had a winning frame or a losing frame. And from the first five styles I created, I want to say about 3 hit. So 3 out of 5. That's not a bad gamble. So after it's all said and done, it worked out, I guess.
All you need is one to hit, and that's
it.
Right? I mean, that's it. Let's be honest, right? But when I hear this, I hear confidence, I hear community, I hear village, I hear that you're humble, right? And I hear your brand story, and I just love how you took that flagular and broke down that frame, and anyone that's from Miami can look at that frame and probably feel that piece. They can see that story by just looking at that frame. So I love how you put together that entire picture there. Now, something that I love about your brand is that you do a fantastic job when it comes to marketing and branding. I mean, even just looking at the background behind you, if I'm scrolling through LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram and I see that background, I'm going to stop. I'm like, what is that? Who is that? What's going on there? So I'd love for you to maybe talk a little bit about your online marketing, but then also where you sell your frames out of, because that's a piece that's very unique that I don't know anyone else doing what you have done in Miami in regards to how your shop is set up. So if you don't mind sharing the digital aspect, but also the in-person marketing that you have done with your brand, because it is incredible.
Thank you. I would love to share that too. I just feel like a lot of us nowadays that with technology, we all get scared. With the social media and the marketing. And I feel like as a creative, especially when you're starting out, it's very important just to publish your stuff, and just put up your posts, put up your art, put up your frames. And if it catches their eye, it catches their eyes, and the most important part is that when you open yourself up, you have to expect that you're going to get feedback, even if it's negative or positive, so it's a two-way road. And I just feel from the get-go, the marketing game is so important to get your brand story out and to build the brand presence, right? So that's one thing we're constantly working on with new campaigns, new models, new styles. But the more important part is just to start. Don't forget where you started, where you came from, and just build up from the first building block. But just push out your content, because nowadays there's so many content creators. So my question would be, why not you? We can all do it. If you got a cell phone, literally nowadays with the cell phones that we have, that is a literally computer on your palm, we can all get it done and figure it out. So for me, once again, it's getting over the fear of putting your stuff out there. So I opened myself up to the world, which is including my brand and my marketing, and I just pushed it out. And it's almost like throwing out a fishing rod and a hook and a sinker and bait. And at the end of the day, people bite. They're going to bite. So if you speak true to yourself, true to your brand, and just from the heart, eventually people will take notice, right? So for us, having our main store flagship in Wynwood, which is the tiny house, is something we built out. And I say we, but at the end of the day, it's really, at this point, it was me. So with YouTube and Google, I looked up a lot of people that were selling trailers online. I think my trailer, I got it from North Carolina. It was an original 1971 Lark. So it was like an old camper trailer. I brought it down to Miami, and the idea was to save money, all right? And 2-3 years ago, the economy was pretty rough. So at the end of the day, the joke was on me. I saved no money because of inflation. So I spent a lot of money to buy all my materials and parts, but I still stayed motivated. And basically, my idea was to save overhead. I didn't want to rent out a place, right? Because I didn't know how big Penny Rose was going to be. So I basically built a tiny house store on wheels with a hitch on the back, and I can roll around the city to post up and sell my brand. So in doing so, as I was building this tiny house, this little Frankenstein of me for Penny Rose, I was able to meet someone in Wynwood, once again, going back to community and village. And for being a creative, to be in the center of Wynwood is a blessing, because there's so much art, there's so much stuff going around me. And it was a perfect spot to put our tiny house, to tell our story, build our brand presence, and sell our product. So from our 7 by 13 foot tiny house, that's probably about 7 feet tall. That's where we sell most of our collection. Besides the stores, I do carry our frames now. In Miami, we have about 4 store accounts. But the true test was last year in Art Basel, December 2023.
Oh,
We
nice.
actually had an NBA player visit our tiny house. And mind you, this guy is almost 7 foot tall. And he fit in the tiny house. So at the end of the day, our tiny house is for anyone and everybody that wants to come in, regardless if you're short or tall. And it worked out. I don't want to drop his name either, but he was a cool cat, and he actually came into the store and he got a pair. So the tiny house for us has been the main staple to tell our brand and to sell our story.
I love it, man. I mean, you took the digital online, then you took it offline, and you thought outside of the box, whether it was brand colors, whether it was brand story, whether it was building a tiny house, right? And I've seen the pictures of it, man, and I think it's like the coolest thing in the world. And I love that you can move it around. You know, Art Basel, to be able to go there where everyone from all across the world is coming to, right? Because of the art and just the energy that's down there. Just think about, well, you don't have to think about it. You've already experienced it, but look at the marketing that's at your fingertips, right? I mean, you got people that pay top dollar for artwork that's coming down there. And now they're looking at top dollar frames that they can put on their face, which is essentially a piece of artwork as well, right? So I love how you really took your own destiny, put it in your hands, and made the magic happen, man. That is fantastic work, my friend.
Thank you, man. At the end of the day, like, I just feel like sometimes there are going to be obstacles and adversities that you're going to face, and sometimes you just have to find the solution. So I kind of just pinned my ears back, and I just got to work. You know, every time I was on the roller coaster going up, I went back down, but I found a solution to go back up. And that's just how the constant ride is of owning a business and being an entrepreneur. It's not glamorous. It's not going to be perfect, you know, but sometimes you get some perks, you know, and you get some pluses, and you can't let that motivate you and drive you, but you have to be consistent and true to your vision, and more importantly, your heart. And for me, Penny Rose, it's my heart.
So let's talk about Penny Rose. Let's see some designs, my friend. We can't talk about the brand and this roller coaster of a journey without seeing some actual designs. So I'd love for you to share maybe your top 3 designs that you have of your collection.
Doc, I didn't think you're ever going to ask, but I'm looking forward to showing you these designs, okay? So I kind of want to show the viewers a little bit, all right, of how I do this, okay? Because when I go around my city in the 305, I carry this professional briefcase, okay? Right. So I'm always, you know, going for the shock value, and people are like, yo, what is this guy carrying in his case? And this is how I display my glasses.
I love it.
So if I were to go off one of my favorite designs, my first and foremost favorite design would be the Flagler, which is the one that I'm wearing now. We just dropped this black on black Flagler right now. It's our first true design with white print inside. As you can see, it has a gold core wire. It's very, very thick. So it has like a 5 millimeter to almost 6 millimeter thickness on the frame, polarized lenses. So this ideally was my first design, the Flagler. This one just dropped about 2 weeks ago. So this is one of my first designs. My second one, that's going to be my second favorite. It's called Capitana. We actually named this after a boat on the Miami River. Notice the palm tree details on the front. And since we named it after the boat on the Miami River called the Capitana, we actually have a boat helm here, which is a wheel that we have on the back of the boat. So this detail of the frame is inspired by Miami, the Miami River in particular. And obviously we put brown gradient lenses on this one too. So it's a very amber color frame with a palm tree detail, which for us in Penny Rose has become a main detail of our brand. And that's something we always put in our frames now as well. And finally, the last one that for me has been pretty popular with the ladies, and I think you might like this name. This one's called the Iris. As we know, Iris, they come in different colors and different sizes, and this Iris does come in 3 different colors as well. It has the same patented core wire that we have here in Penny Rose, which is gold. It has our own details on it as well. But this particular frame is special because these lenses are actually not cut into the bevel of the frame. They're actually flat to the frame. So it's a lens that's on the outside of the frame, and it has a very slight cat eye. So this is a very future forward frame, pretty funky, pretty different. I kind of recommend this for small and medium faces. But this one, ideally, the Iris, the Capitana, and the Flagler were my most popular styles to start off with. But this one right here has been the hottest seller. I've sold out of this frame twice already. And the one that I sold out of twice has been this color, the Flagler in green tort.
I love that. That's nice.
Yeah, and
Super
believe it
fun.
or not, as you manufacture these things, mistakes happen in the lab and the factory, and this one was a mistake.
Really?
I probably shouldn't even say that, but it was a mistake. I ideally just picked a simple turtle shell for this frame,
Yeah.
and due to the chemicals of the acetate and when they put the clear backing to the front of the turtle shell, a reaction happened and the tortoise became green. So that's why it's mixed with green and brown.
Gotcha.
So, and it's funny because I was kind of stressing out about it. I was calling the factory and I was like, "Hey, you guys messed up." And they're like, "No, don't worry about it. Try to sell it." I'm like, "Fine, I'm gonna try to sell it and giving you guys the benefit of the doubt." And I'm glad I did because that was the first style I had that actually sold out.
I love it, man. I love those colors. I love the unique designs. They're all completely different, but they all truly pop. And the aviator style one, the detail that you have on there is just unmatched. The Flagler, I love that little lip that's there because as an optometrist, getting a little nerdy and goofy with it, I think, that's good protection from UV. It gives you that a little extra layer that's right there as well, right?
For sure,
So,
for sure.
man, those frames are well thought out. Tell me this, man, being, Hispanic, black and brown faces are similar. I noticed when I was looking at the eye sizes, they were a little larger. The bridge, and then it's also the temples. Was that intentional, or is that just happened to be the designs that the way you cooked it up?
It actually was all on purpose. Because ideally, working for all these eyewear companies, I felt like there were a lot of people that weren't represented when it comes to face shapes and sizing and bridges. So ideally, I try to make sure that I try to make these frames fit to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Which we all know in the eyewear business is impossible. It's not going to fit everybody, and that's okay. But we have this good thought in mind that eventually we're going to get to that point. So for us here at Penny Rose, we want to be accepting to anybody and everybody, right? So to have that type of representation, you kind of have to have the offerings and the options. So this is gonna be the first announcement that I'm gonna make. I'm doing it live on your show. Okay,
oh, nice, man. We like exclusive, baby.
Starting in 2025, towards the mid of 2025, we're gonna have the options of choosing your frames from small, medium, and large.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so you can fit the smallest PD to the widest PD to the biggest heads to the smallest heads. Even the temple sizing as well. You're gonna have two options from small to large. So we're gonna try to make sure we target everyone in the market, and that's one thing that I think makes Penny Rose Penny Rose. And one thing that we are is that we don't want to tell you how to wear your eyewear. We don't want to tell you what color to pick. We want to make it fun for everybody. So eventually, the same way that I got the feedback from my first prototypes, we're gonna do that moving forward. We're not gonna change. We want the feedback from our customers, from our fans, and we want to make sure we make a pair that they want to wear the way they want to wear it, with their colors, with the lens color, because everything is gonna be customizable. So from the sizing to whatever writing you want to put inside. So if you want to put Penny Rose X Dr. Glover, we can get that done. And we can do a one of one. So this is the next.
We got to get that your favorite optometrist on there, my friend.
Oh, we're gonna do that. We're gonna get that right. But that's the dream. That's the goal, and we're pushing hard for these big dreams. Because since the beginning, I've always been a little bit over ambitious, and we're working at it. It's actually it's in progress. We're cooking something up, and for 2025, we have a lot of cool new stuff to show off.
I love it, man. And when I hear this, I hear inclusive eyewear. You're making eyewear truly for everyone with unique designs, with an incredible story behind it as well. Fantastic job. Hey, man, before we go, a couple of questions. Number one, for all my colleagues out there, for anybody that's listening to this podcast that is interested in your brand and wants to bring it into their office, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
For sure. So we have a few ways to connect. One is obviously, as everyone knows, social media. Facebook and Instagram is a main way of doing that. But more importantly, on our website, on pennyroseoptical.com, we have a link on the bottom for market partners. So if you're interested, fill out that little questionnaire, and our wholesale team will reach out to you to see if we can make it happen.
I love it. And what are your social media handles?
Social media handles is going to be Penny Rose Optical. At the end of the day, as you know, I'm an optician. That's how I came into the game. So the optical is still there. I don't want it to disappear because I still got love for my optics, and that's how I made it so far in this field. Eventually, as we keep growing, you know, we might have to drop the optical, but we're always going to offer the options of, you know, glasses, lenses, RX, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, man, I can't let you leave this show without asking you this question that I ask all my guests. When it's your time to retire your phoropter, meaning to leave your legacy, what is it that you want to be known for, man? Because just hearing your story right now, I'm blown away, and you've already impacted me. What is it that you want to be known for, man? You got to share.
I appreciate that, dog. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. When I hang it up, if and when I do hang it up, because you know I like to stay active and keep moving, so I don't know what's ever gonna happen. But if I do, and when I do, what I would want to be remembered for is this. I want to hold the door open. You know, I'm on the shoulders of a lot of greats before me. You know, and I have to give credit to, you know, my local community, the local community college that helped me get my degrees to become an optician, and my local mentor that owns a local eye design shop. It's called Eye Design Opticians. She has a little high-end optical shop in Miami. She was my mentor. She taught me everything. And with that being said, I want to be remembered as someone that was a trailblazer, you know, that he went on his own lane. He didn't really listen to the naysayers, the doubters, and I just kept it moving, kept it going. But more importantly, I want to hold this door open as long as I can for all of those that are coming behind me. So for representation in our Hispanic, Latino, any race, anything, I don't care. Come on, come everybody. I'm holding this door open, and I want to bring my young bucks and my legacy from down there up here to the same level, because we're going to keep pushing the envelope with design, and it's for everybody. And that's how I've been since the beginning, since I was a little kid in Miami. We rub elbows. We're in a big melting pot. And like I said, I want to hold this door for everybody that wants to come through. So if anyone that's listening, anyone that wants help, anyone that wants a guidance of how to get into the industry, hit your boy up at Penny Rose. I'm more than willing to help you, because we're not gatekeeping here. We're giving all this free information for anybody and everybody. And at the end of the day, Dr. Glover, that's how I want to be remembered. I want to remember as someone that's bringing somebody up with him. As a leader, you got to bring others with you. And I feel like that's where I want to do, and that's where I want to be. And as we move forward, we got to have to figure it out. But I want to do programs where I'm giving back to my community and just, you know, helping the future keep growing.
I love it, man. I love it. Confident, bold, creator, game changer. You have done it all, man. And I just want to say thank you for all the great work that you have done. Continue the fantastic work, and always continue to pay it forward. I'm a firm believer that the more you give, the more you will receive. And I know your blessings have come because you've helped so many people, whether it's right in front of them or behind closed doors. So Orlando, thank you again so much for being on the show. For all my colleagues out there, check out Penny Rose Optical. Hit up the website, hit up the social media, learn game. Thank you again, man. To all to all the followers out there, stay healthy, stay positive, and blessed. And until next time, peace. Hey, family, if you enjoyed this full podcast, don't miss out on more engaging content. Check out the next episode right here. And for the latest updates, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Your support means the world to us. Catch us in the next episode. Peace.